Welcome to the URUR. My name is Jose, and today we have a very special segment. With me today is Rob, and today's segment is called Rob on the Way to the Gym.
Or you could call it Rob sitting in the parking lot of the gym looking very awkward, and everybody that parks is kind of like, what the hell is this guy doing?
What time do you normally go to the gym?
I normally go to the gym it's a little early for me. So I do is I'll nap, and then I'll wake up roughly at about this time, and then I'll be at the gym at about 10-ish. But right now I'm going to sit in the parking lot for the duration or however long this takes. I'm not on video, right?
No. This is commitment.
Okay, fantastic.
Because
fantastic.
Now, if you were on video, what would we be seeing?
You'd be seeing my ugly face for one.
Uh-huh.
But I have a Superman shirt on.
Okay.
I'm not claiming to be Superman
because you can't work out without a Superman shirt, right?
Exactly. But I'm not claiming to be Superman.
No.
I don't want to get accused of gimmick infringement or anything like that.
Right.
And then I have the Dallas Cowboys hat on. It's a must. I don't know if you're a Cowboys fan, but they're my team.
That's your team. Are they going all the way this year?
Come on now. Yes, of course.
Every year, right? Every year.
Every year, baby. Every year. Now, just so you know, there's this big guy walking right in front of my car with, huge muscles, way bigger than my muscles, and I have very little muscles. And, I don't know, it's a little scary. But anyhow, okay.
Did he make eye contact?
You know what? Right now, he's looking around. He's putting his stuff in his car, and we were very close, just so close to making eye contact. But it'd be very awkward because, right now, his car is to the right of me, 2 cars, and I'm leaning forward, looking at him. So it looks very creeper-esque right now.
So why are you leaning forward? Why?
I don't know. At this point, I'm giving you a play-by-play, like the golf announcer would. So,
dude, this guy obviously. He might have some warrants or something. He's obviously huge, and you're giving him a reason for him to beat you down, basically.
I don't know. I mean, it is 2015, and I'm not going to judge a book by its cover. He might be a little light in his loafers, but that's okay.
So what do you mean by it might be 2015? Are you saying that there might be a possibility that you might find yourself in the ground and someone might be yelling, "Stop resisting"?
I'm glad that you bring that up. Yes, it's 2015, and this is apparently the year where everybody does just very argumentative with the police and don't follow instructions well.
So so you think it's more instructions, not necessarily the whole police brutality fiasco.
Let's look at it this way. So,
okay.
Just taking aside who's right and who's wrong.
Sure.
Put yourself in a situation where you're in a very confrontational situation with a person with a gun.
Okay, let's say it's me. Okay.
Okay, let's say it's me and you, right?
Right.
I have a gun.
You have a gun. Got it.
It's very clear that I have a gun.
Right.
Would you at any point argue with me if I had a gun?
Me personally, no.
Okay. Then why is it you're talking about police and civilians? These police officers, of course, are armed.
Okay.
They've got to go home at night to their family.
True.
They have to protect themselves.
Yes.
And so when they're put in these situations, there are several things going through their mind.
Right.
I guess to kind of go with the long story short.
Sure.
What needs to happen is if you feel that you're in the wrong, this is my opinion only.
Sure.
Just stay calm. Don't be argumentative. Don't give the cop a reason to think that you're hostile.
Right.
But in all these situations, everybody that I've seen has been argumentative. In the case of Michael Brown, he was, as everybody apparently has forgotten, that this guy was in the process of committing a crime.
I see where you're going.
All these cases, it's some sort of issue with these people are committing crimes, and unfortunately, it results in their death.
Right.
But part of that is being combative, argumentative,
sure,
and committing the crime. Mm-hmm. Now, people are saying, well, police are, they're being brutal or whatever, aggressive, but how about let's just go to the root of the problem and not commit the crime?
Okay. Now, let me play devil's advocate.
By all means.
So let me go back, and again, you have the gun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not going to do anything. But let's just see, just to paint the picture a little bit more. My spouse, my wife, is about to give birth.
Or husband.
Okay, my husband's about to give birth.
Maybe. It's 2015.
Junior style, you know.
There you go.
And you stop me, and the worst thing for me to do is to get out of the car. I know this.
Absolutely.
I know this. I don't get out of the car. I stick my hands out like a civilian. Well, they don't have to, but, you know, just to play it safe.
They should.
They should. And if a police officer comes up to me and I say, my wife's pregnant, I gotta go, I kind of feel like that would be good process, right?
I think at that point the cop, and these guys are trained. Most major police departments are very well trained. I think at that point they know how to handle that type of situation. For example, you'll find, and you don't see these type of stories publicized as much as Michael Brown and all these other instances, but you see cases, and you can YouTube it, where it's as recent as a couple days ago, this lady was choking, and the cop was pulling her over for a traffic stop. I mean, mind you, I don't know if you've ever choked. Have you ever choked on anything?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not suggesting anything sexual, but...
Whoa. Let's leave that in the room.
There you go. So if you've ever choked, you have a tendency to panic.
Yeah.
And so you would think in that situation that if somebody's pulled over, they're choking, when they panic and get out of the car, I don't know. But this lady didn't. The cop quickly realized she was choking and helped her remove the object or whatever that she had.
I saw that.
Like, these guys are smart. They're trained.
Right.
But when you come at them in a hostile way, or if you know that this cop is having a bad day, why would you further enrage him? You know, like this lady Sandra, I don't know what her last name is, but she ended up killing herself. And I watched the traffic stop, and when I first saw the headline and I saw like the dash cam video was posted, I thought that she killed as she was pulled over.
Right.
And as I watched the video, I quickly realized that no, she wasn't. She was gonna get a warning, and she had an attitude with the cop, and he kind of mentioned that, and she kind of, you know, she was like, I don't understand why I'm being pulled over, and he explained that to begin with.
Right.
When he initially pulled her over, he let her know that, hey, you failed to signal. It'll be a few minutes, and then he's running all her information.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he took too long, you know. I guess, I'm sorry, she was inconvenienced, granted, given the fact, even though she broke the law by not signaling, you know, it is a violation of the law. It's a legal stop. But she has an attitude, and then he proceeds to ask her to put out her cigarette. And then she at that point, she's like, well, no, I'm in my car, blah, blah, blah. And at that point,
no respect for authority, right there. No respect for authority. There is no respect.
That's part of the problem. There is no respect. There's a sense of self-entitlement in today's society. When people feel that they're entitled, that they're higher than the law or this or that. But anyhow, he asked her to step out, and at that point she refuses, and she gets more combative. And sure, was it right of him to say, hey, I'm going to light you up? Probably not, but I think in the heat of the moment, when you've got somebody that's combative with you, things are going to slip like that.
Mm-hmm.
But she was only going to get a warning. Had she remained calm, had been nice, maybe smiled a little bit, I don't know, or just kept her mouth flat out shut, she would have, you know, she would have gotten off with a warning.
Mm-hmm.
And now, just so you know, this couple right now is to my left. It looked like they were going to make out. They were going to his car, which is parked close to mine, but they realized that there's this weird guy in his car talking. Now they're going toward what appears to be her car for a possible makeout session. Details to come.
And then you're following them to Wendy's as they keep on trying to get some night food after their intense makeup section.
I don't know what they're doing. They're going to get in her car. Okay, there's going to be some action going on there.
Uh-oh.
But that's illegal too. That's like what, indecent exposure?
You hear it first here at the URUR.
If there's a major incident here, I want no part of it.
So okay, but you've also seen the videos where they have there's this video about this guy who had a semi-automatic, and it was a white guy at first. It was this little test that they made, And the white
I
guy,
saw.
yeah, you know that one. They have the white guy, and then they have the black guy do the same thing, and all of a sudden there's like 5 different officers all just coming in, holding the black guy to the ground, and all this mess.
Sure.
I mean, do you also see that as something that's a problem?
Yes. I mean that is clearly. I mean, it's clearly a problem. If it's in the same city, I believe it was in the same city. Am I right?
I can't validate that. I'm sorry. I should be prepared.
No, it's okay. So, yeah, that's probably a problem. I'm not suggesting that racial profiling isn't an issue. However, if you're innocent, if there's nothing... look, let me tell you. I've been pulled over probably, I think, more than 10 times this year by either a Texas state trooper, county enforcement, city police in various cities because I travel a lot.
Sure. But you look like a white guy, though. You're white complected. Well, you are basically a white guy.
To some, like I get different comments. I get comments that you're white or that you look Latino. But anyhow,
yeah.
And out of all those over 10 encounters, I'm still alive. I've never been placed in cuffs.
Is this because you've been cordial with them?
I try to be as cordial as I can. I'm not gonna lie. I got pulled over by the Bexar County Sheriff one time coming to the gym, ironically.
Huh.
And she pulled me over for fail to signal. She said I didn't signal. Now I had seen her for about 2 miles. I'm very observant.
We're not talking about those type of movies, okay? This sounds like an X-rated movie coming up right now.
No.
Oh, okay. No, this is for real. Okay, I got you. All right.
So I'd seen her tailing me for like 2 miles, and I'm like, okay, she's clearly like looking to pull me over.
She wants you.
Yeah, she wants me. You know?
Yeah.
So she puts her lights on. And it just happened right before I was going to go to the gym. So I turn into the gym parking lot.
She's been scouting you, man. That's what's been happening. She has been
scouting me.
Yeah.
Now I could be a jerk. I could be like, well, I saw you and this, that, and you're clearly fishing, and because that's all that's going through my mind. She was fishing. She's just trying to, I drive a sports car. Yes.
Of course, yeah.
So she pulls me over. I give her my license and insurance, and she says, well, the reason I pulled you over was that you failed to signal. Now, I was a little bit of a smart ass. I said, that's funny because I was very aware of the fact that you've been following me for 2 miles, and I'm pretty sure that I did signal, but I said, that's okay. I said, here's my information. And she was like, okay, I'll be right back. And she runs all my information. She comes back to my car. She literally hands me my license and insurance and then walks away. And she doesn't even say a word to me. She just walks away.
So she was already like mad. She just didn't want to deal with you.
She was a little upset, but I think what upset her more was that she didn't find anything. And so when she walked away, I looked out I kind of stuck my head out of the window and I said, am I free to go? And she was like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I wasn't, at no point did I raise my tone with her, but I let her know that I had seen her for 2 miles.
Sure.
And,
she was waiting for something.
Yeah. But other than that, I've never really, I've always been nice, always been respectful. And they've always let me off with a warning, with the exception of one time when I was speeding 10 over the limit, which is understandable. But,
and where were you going? Where were you going that you had to speed at 10 miles over the speed limit?
I was in Three Rivers, Texas at about 2 a.m. I was falling asleep, which is not good. I had just come back from McAllen, so I'm kind of trying to make my way back up here to San Antonio. And I was dozing off. The speed limit was 35. I was apparently going like 41. But the only thing I remember was that the lights is what kind of got my attention. And I was like, oh, God, I was falling asleep, and now I'm getting pulled over. This guy probably thinks I'm drunk.
Yeah.
And he had even accused, this is interesting, he had even accused me. He goes, I rolled my windows down, and he's asking me all these questions, and he goes, what's that smell coming from the car? Suggesting that I was smoking marijuana. And I was like, well, it could be the McDonald's that I had about an hour and a half ago. But, most of these self-entitled people would have said, well, they would have just argued with the guy. And I was just like, no, dude, it's probably the burger. Like, whatever, do your thing, run whatever. I know you're not going to find anything on me. Issue me the ticket, and we'll be good to go. Like,
This is the new stuff, man. It's called Supersize Me. Oh, man. You want to hit?
It's not, I don't endorse McDonald's. Like, it was just, it's late night, and I'm trying to
There's nothing open. I've been there.
There's nothing open, you know. Maybe somebody's pants if you can find. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. That's another podcast.
That's another. Yeah, we'll save that for another day. But
so largely, it's you could see both sides of the coin. In other words, right?
I can, but I think all these deaths could have been prevented.
I definitely. Oh yeah, that I definitely agree. But with these deaths, it is a very touchy subject.
It is.
And
I'm not suggesting that they deserve to die.
No.
I'm not saying that they're nobody deserves to die. I'm not suggesting that at all.
But we're just saying that due to these deaths are telling us that there's a greater problem than just
on both sides.
On both sides, yeah, absolutely. There's on one side we're questioning authority. We don't want to follow rules, which is a breakdown of society as it is anyway. So how are we supposed to trust our police officers if we just turn our backs and don't want to follow their instruction?
Well, here's part of the problem. Now, the media would have you believe that it's a one-sided issue and that
Absolutely.
It's only an issue with the police. And when you glorify deaths like Michael Brown, and they show everything but the video of him pushing the innocent man who owns the convenience store, him robbing the store. They show everything but that.
Right.
So the public is led to believe that it's a one-sided issue. But the other problem is that parents, especially today, are teaching their kids to be fearful of the police when in fact they should feel like the police can keep them safe and that's somebody that they should go to if they're in trouble. But if they fear the police and feel that the police are this threatening force, well, of course, as they grow up, they're going to get defensive. That's part of the problem, is that parents have raised their children to believe that they should be afraid of the police rather than go to the police if they're in trouble.
And that's due to the fear instilled by media? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I believe so.
And why do you think the media is gravitating to this? Because it can sell newspapers, it can, they can get...
ratings.
Yeah, ratings, right? Yeah, exactly.
Ratings, yeah, absolutely. It's all about ratings and money, and, it's the same thing. Let's go over to Donald Trump real quick for a second.
Okay, yes, let's bring him over. He's
causing a lot of controversy. Now, I think, I don't agree with everything that he says. He's he's very strong. He's like a strong cup of tea. But, I think that he brought up an excellent point regarding immigration and that there's a problem on the border. There is a problem with people coming over to this country illegally.
Right.
And what his words, basically, if you watch his speech, he talks about how he does mention Mexico, but he also mentions South and Latin America and the Middle East as its problems are coming here.
Right.
But what was taken was just the Mexico part. And why is that? Because there is a growing Latino population, and this type of issue. I'm sure you're aware of the Dreamers,
oh, absolutely.
and that whole movement to get these 13 million undocumented workers as legal citizens, or the whole works. So the media is like, oh shoot, we have a great story. We've got Mexicans and we've got Donald Trump, what appears to be spewing hate. Let's put that out there, lump it, make a story out of it. And sure enough, I mean, it's the hottest thing going on the news. You turn the news on, you can't miss it. He's on Fox, he's on CNN, he's on MSNBC. Everybody's interviewing, from Anderson Cooper to NBC's girl.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a piece of the Donald. And he's leading the polls. He's ahead by like 11 and 12 points on Jeb Bush and Scott Walker. So I think his message strongly resonates with a lot of the Republican base. And he's a little extreme, but there is an issue with immigration. We do have border issues. I think we need to secure the border. And I have this discussion with people daily. It's like, these people aren't bad. I hear that all the time. These people aren't bad. I'm not saying that everybody's bad, but I am saying that there are drugs coming across the border. There is crime coming across the border. Take, for example, the man in San Francisco who killed the woman he had been deported 5 times from this country. Imagine had our Border Patrol or security done its job, kept him out the first time, she could probably be alive. I don't know. I mean, you know. But those are examples of crime coming over. Drugs are coming over. I go to the border all the time, going to McAllen, which is right across from Reynosa, and I go through checkpoints. You have to forgive the vibrating if you hear that. That's my cell phone. But I see the Border Patrol scrambling all the time. I see drones because I go through the Falfurrias checkpoint, which illegals coming across try to go around that checkpoint, and they end up dying in the middle of the land. So there are drones out there looking for active people running or people that are dead. Yeah. And so it's a problem, and people don't see that. People don't see the thousands of drugs that are taken from these checkpoints, and they have statistics pointed right there. And every time I go through, the number of drugs that they seize and the number of illegals that they capture, the number grows every time. It's in the thousands right now. Yeah. I'll go. I'm going tomorrow. I'll actually shoot you that figure.
Oh, you should. Yeah, and we can have we can actually plan for a bigger segment on that as well.
Exactly, but I think Trump brings up a point. I do think some of his words are taken out of context, but his message resonates with some people in this country because immigration is an issue. And I mean, what's the solution? You know, there is a process. Should we make that process a little bit more smoother, a little bit more easier for people to come into this country? Probably, because I'm not suggesting. I mean, me personally, I think. We are a nation of immigrants. We should allow people to come into this country, but you know, we can't allow people to come through illegally. I mean, what should we do? Just open our border and hey, whoever wants to come in, come in? No, there has to be a process.
No, it definitely. I mean, that's the thing about democracy is that the process sometimes is a lot slower than we want it to be, and so getting the right message out there is important to get the people informed, so that way, you know, there could be a bill that would pass. And even when it passes, you know how hard it is for a bill to pass. Even when it does pass, it's not going to be perfect. You know, it's going to be a bunch of compromise all throughout the whole thing. So, I mean, it's definitely, you know, something very hard to get accomplished right now because we don't even, there's still a huge debate about it. Going back onto, touching base a little bit about Trump's campaign, I mean, the way that I see it is that I read somewhere that he tends to do this. He tends to run for president, and this really helps his business, and it really helps him get his word out whenever he's doing, you know, opening for a new golf course or opening for a new building, things like that. So, are we supposed to take him serious, or is this just, you know, a big, just kind of, I don't know.
To my knowledge, I think this is the first time he's run for president, at least in my lifetime. To my knowledge, I think he might have. But regardless, I think that he's lost a lot of business. I would venture to say.
On this one, yes. On this one, he's
lost a lot of business. So I think, you know, I think he believes that he would be a good president. I think he believes.
You really do think so?
I think he does believe that.
So you think he's really running, and he's really thinking he can win this. Do you think he can win this?
You know what? I think he could.
You know,
he's gonna cause some trouble in the Republican.
He's already has. I think he's alienating a lot of different Republicans. You know, of how extreme he is.
But you know what? A lot of their base is become very extreme.
It's true. That's what's happening. It's like people.
He's leading the polls.
Well,
you know,
I mean,
he could win a couple primaries. He could. I mean, could he win the nomination? That's a possibility. He could win the nomination. Okay, creepy guy in a red shirt walking towards me. Okay, he's getting in the car. He's getting in the car in front of me. Okay, we're good. So he could win the nomination, but I think what might happen is if he doesn't win the nomination, he may run as a third-party candidate
and then split the vote, and then Hillary gets it. Is that what's going to happen?
Hillary or whoever the Democrat is, but you know, she's probably going to win it. The Democratic nod. But yeah, it would be Ross Perot revisited again, benefiting a Clinton against the Bush. I mean, it'll be like history repeats itself.
There you go. Know? There you go. Tune in, see what happens.
Right.
2016.
You know, but they fear that. I think the Republican Party fears it, and a lot of his opponents are like turning their backs to Trump. They're trying to distance themselves. And what's going to happen is if he gets pushed out, he's probably going to run as a third party and just screw them over.
Yeah, I mean, just it's just laughable how many candidates are running for the Republican
16.
Party. That's insane.
It's a lot.
That's insane. I mean, I kind of feel I'm going to watch it just to see what they're going to say. You know, it's more like just
Oh,
wait.
it's like watching college basketball.
There you go.
March Madness. They have 16 teams, and it's like watching something like that. But I think that, I think one of the better candidates, and he's getting lost in this entire shuffle, just given the fact that the field is so large, is Governor John Kasich from Ohio. He's a very good governor.
Oh, look at you.
He's the only governor as a Republican to expand Medicaid under Obamacare.
There you go.
And what I like about him is that, and it's kind of, it's a different type of attitude than that of his fellow Republican colleagues.
Sure.
Is that and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something along the lines of when you're having the talk with St. Peter, I don't think he's going to care about what you did to make government small, but rather what you did to help the poor.
There you
and
go.
you better have a damn good answer. So I think that, because that's all they focus on is small government and let's cut entitlement programs and so on and so forth. But if you look statistically, under Republican presidencies, the government grows, the deficit increases,
Sure.
and under Democratic presidents, it's the complete opposite. But they would have you believe that it's Democrats that are increasing the deficit and increasing government, when in fact that's not the case. And that's factual. That's from the Congressional Budget Office. So that's available to anybody, to look up. Reagan tripled the deficit, and Reagan's like a god in the Republican Party.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the power of media, right there. It's easy for us to turn on the television and just tune in and feed what we want to hear. So if you want to listen to Fox, you're going to hear what you want to hear.
You're going to hear what you want. Exactly. And social media is killing. It's supposed to be a good tool. It makes this world very small. But the problem is that you have these fake news sites or these and you see people post some of the most ridiculous, Obama is starting Jade Helm to take over Texas and that, he's going to, that Texas is going to be taken over by Jade Helm or whatever. I mean, come on.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we figure out a way to spread this vital information to people? Like what you just said, there are ways for us to check this information online. I feel like when I was growing up, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I didn't know that there were government websites that you can set up, that you can even now, is as easy as emailing your senator. And now these young kids or even people that might be in their mid-30s, they don't know none of this stuff. So if we could get that information and make it accessible and kind of tell people here, get your information here, I think people would actually hopefully gravitate, because that's what we need the public to do. We need them to get informed and do it their way. I think we're being lazy by just clicking on CNN or clicking on MSNBC. All those are big news stories, news stations, but they have to sell items too, so they do work for a bigger corporation.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely. And there are websites like Fact Check. I think it's factcheck.org.
There you go.
Progress. There's a lot of websites where you can find out where the facts are. You can also find the facts on your own through, if you want to look at, who's really increasing the debt?
Yeah.
How big is government getting? There's the Congressional Budget Office. There are tools that are there to figure out, what really is going on. But the problem is people are too lazy.
Yes.
It's easier, and this is amazing, because it's easier nowadays. You see a headline, and it's all people read is the headline.
Yes.
And then they just click share. For example, Jared from Subway he had his home raided by the FBI. They were investigating child pornography. But the headlines would have you believe that he was arrested for it, like that they found child pornography. When in fact, if you read
the whole story,
the whole story, you read the whole story, he was not arrested, and it's part of an ongoing investigation. Whether they find something or not, what if they don't find anything?
Yeah.
And what if, in fact, at the end of the day, his name is clear? Subway's already parted or suspended its relationship. The whole world believes that he's a pedophile now.
Yeah. Defamation.
Maybe he is. Maybe he is a Chester. Maybe he is. But But if he's not, I mean, you know, he could sue Subway.
Yeah.
You know, he can, but his life is forever ruined. And
Yeah.
part of the problem is it's just that's a prime example of people sharing a headline, not reading, because it's easier. It's easier to read a quick little sentence, a quick little headline, and click share than it is to actually sit there and read the entire article. I don't think anybody reads anymore.
Right. Well, think of how fast-paced we are now. I mean, you personally talking with me. I mean, just me personally talking to you. I do get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I do have an app that kind of takes all the news organizations and just puts them together. And
That's excellent.
And I can read the same story 5, 6, even 12 different times and all the headlines are different because they're there to get your attention.
Right.
So immediately I'm already reading like 5 different headlines thinking what really happened until I start reading the actual headline as it is.
Right.
Now, you personally, how many stories do you read a day, and when do you find time to read?
I try to do it throughout the day. I can't necessarily say that it's in the morning.
It's like downtime?
Yeah. So what I do is, like on Twitter, for example, I haven't really got on Twitter that much, but I try to see what everybody's saying. So I try to see what Fox is saying.
Yeah.
I try to see what CNN is saying. I try to see what MSNBC is saying. NPR. I try to see. I want to get an idea. An old college professor of mine told me that he gave me this example. He subscribes to left and right wing and centered news, like everything.
Yeah.
He goes because he wants to see what everybody's opinion is, and 2, let's see who's telling the truth. Like, where are the facts at?
And how they're spinning it.
Yeah, and is there consistency on how these stories are being told?
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem is that everybody's kind of putting their own twist on it.
Because they all have their little agendas.
Right. But I'm subscribed to everybody from Fox, CNN, the Associated Press,
Oh, yeah, me too.
What is the other one? NPR.
NPR,
you know,
yeah.
the Drudge Report.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Washington Post, New York Times, everything from right and left wing, I try to say subscribe to.
And you're just downtime whenever you get a chance, sit down, wait in line, going to the bank.
Oh, yeah. You know, just whenever I have downtime. And even at the end of the day, I'll go through everything and kind of say, okay, what's going on?
Exactly, yeah. That's me.
I'll watch the news. I am a fan of, I'm not going to lie, I'm a fan of MSNBC.
Thought you would.
And I like CNN too. You know, Fox is a little very, very, very extreme in terms of just what they're doing. But I hear cars racing by.
Oh yeah, my brother is right next to me. I didn't think this mic would pick up because it's not a condenser mic.
What's he playing, Grand Theft Auto?
He is watching... what are you watching, Pedro? Top Gear.
Pedro. I've met Pedro before, have I not?
Pedro, have you met Rob? Yes, he says he has. So
that's been a long time. Pedro is younger than you, correct?
Yes, Pedro is younger than me. He's
okay.
Yeah, he's younger than me, but he's a lot stronger than I am. So
is he?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make things awkward and talk about Pedro.
Yeah,
I just heard cars, and I was like, I know I'm close to a highway or a street, but I don't see cars zooming by.
Yeah, he's watching Top Gear, which sadly is not on the air anymore. Yeah, they'll get their stuff together, but that's a...
Speaking of stuff that's not on the air, I'm glad that that's excellent.
Sure.
The Dukes of Hazzard, one of my favorite shows, is not on the air.
That... Yes.
The Confederate flag.
Uh-huh.
And really, it's actually the rebel flag. The Confederate flag, which belonged to the Confederacy, was a completely different flag. But anyway, it is, you know...
Okay.
That show itself was not about the flag or anything.
Right,
that was that show was it was a good show.
Let me kind of touch base on that show real quick.
Okay.
I remember watching that show when I was little, and at no time at all did I think anything wrong about the show. You know, I just thought it was just 2 guys escaping the law and some awesome car chases. And the flag was, you know, red, white, and blue, and that's all I really saw. I didn't see any sign of racism or anything that told me that these guys were part of the Ku Klux Klan or something like that. So I did
Right.
think it was kind of ridiculous. I mean, they might be going a bit too far by all of
I
a
think
sudden
so.
trying to eliminate everything. It's like they're trying to say they're trying to say, you know what, we're not racist. Let's put all these things together. It's kind of like going to a party and saying out loud, "Oh, I'm not racist." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In front of people, like if you're not racist, then you don't even bring it up. You just chill,
Right.
you know. And I kind of feel like all these things are happening here at San Antonio. They're taking a lot of these flags away, and I can understand why, but at the same time, I kind of feel like it's more of a fear kind of an idea that you're going to be pegged as a racist, more so that you're just doing it as a genuine thing, you know? I don't know.
But these are like what was removed today from like the courthouses and stuff was like Confederate memorials and stuff, or like like remembering battles and such.
Right.
And those are historical things. I don't think that things like that shouldn't be removed.
Right.
Even though yes, that war was about slavery. I mean, those that try to argue otherwise, I think you're ignorant. But
yeah,
that's what it was about. But at the same time, and I do agree with the fact that the Confederate flag shouldn't hang over like a state capitol or anything like that.
Right.
That I agree with.
Right. There's certain things that you need to clarify on, but there should be a line. I think they're crossing
it. It's gone too far. It's gone too far.
Yeah.
The Dukes of Hazzard being taken off. Like the reason that the flag is the rebel flag. The reason that they painted that flag on the car was because they were very rebellious. They were They fought the system.
Yeah.
And so that's why that flag was on there. That's kind of what that symbolized. And they named the car after the famous general of the Confederacy, Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
And but hell, I mean, there was never any racism in that show. They had African Americans on that show. They never. I don't think that there was ever any hint of racism. Now, what I do find interesting, I'm not aware. Is the Cosby Show been taken off TV?
I don't know. I assume it would. I know that he had a big deal with NBC. He was gonna come out with another show, and they pretty much killed that. I know that, and he also had another hour special comedy thing, and they killed that too. It is kind of awkward now looking back at Cosby segments.
Right. My concern is like if his show is still on, that's completely wrong. But anyhow,
right.
But yeah, that kind of upset me because that was like my childhood show.
Yeah.
The Dukes of Hazzard, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is. I think that society has become very, people don't have thick skin anymore. Like we're just very sensitive now.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this kind of brings us full circle if you think about it, because the whole racism thing with the police, and then you have the whole racism with the flag. I mean, they kind of go together. I mean, there's this big fear that the police do racial profiling, right? And
but who's telling the story here? Who has built up this narrative?
The media.
The media. It is built up it's like watching a story unfold. It's just built up over the last year and a half.
But there's a lot of also black comedians that are not part of the media that will talk about having stories where they've been racially profiled as well. Even rappers like Jay-Z talks about it as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is prevalent out there.
Yeah.
Is it hyper-realized? Maybe.
I think so.
But I do see that there may be a problem. I mean, I do see that if I was a police officer and maybe there's ways to check statistics in areas, we can focus on different types of cities because we all know they gerrymander. So let's just check. So let's just check to see the arrest rates or the altercations that they have in particular areas, and we can see who they're actually arresting and how they're being arrested. I don't know if you can get this data, but that might be an indication. I don't know.
It's out there. I think it's under the. There's like a federal government. There's like a website where you can get all these statistics, and you can actually filter it as you can filter it as much as your local municipality. But back when I was doing research and doing my undergrad. we would do stuff like that, and we'd pull statistics, we'd pull figures.
What kind of
And
figures did you see stuff in San Antonio? Like any?
well, just from what I can remember on some of the projects that I did, like there is going to be a higher number of African American
Okay.
minorities.
Now, with that said,
Yeah.
if you're a police officer and you know that, and you have those rates and those figures and those numbers, of course, if you go into a situation, you're gonna be more defensive.
Probably so.
You're gonna watch because of your life, right? Because of your livelihood, because that's what comes with the job, obviously, right?
But again, even if they're and I'm not black. I mean, clearly my skin tone is white. So I'll never be in that position, and I can't really speak on that. But I think at the end of the day, even if you're profiled, even if like they have it in their mind that you are a criminal, as long as you get pulled over, you don't argue with the cop. You keep your hands visible. Don't give them any reason to believe that you're going to be hostile toward them, or that you're going to. Don't be a threat. In other words, a police officer is supposed to. A police officer, when they approach a scene, when they pull somebody over, they have to assess the threat, and they have to look at it like, okay, where are the threats coming from, and then they have to de-escalate the threat, or they have to what's the word I'm looking for? Control it.
Okay.
But as long as if you're calm and you give them no reason to believe that you're a threat, then you should be okay.
No.
If the cop does something wrong, you'll have. I mean, it's sad to say, but I mean, that you'll have to.
You have bad apples.
Deal with that. You have to deal with that. You do have bad apples, and you'll have to deal with that. But
now,
you will have your day in court.
Here's the thing, though. If you're a police officer and you pull a car over, and there's two options here. One is, let's just say, a woman, a white woman. It's 2:00 in the morning. Okay, she's been swerving, and if you see that it's a white woman, you run her license plates. You get off and you go towards that car.
Mm-hmm.
You ask for a license of registration. You see it's a white woman. You walk back calmly. You run it like a routine check. Now, same car. You run license plates and it's a black man, 2:00 in the morning. Are you going to be more on guard if it's a black man versus a white woman?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Me personally?
Yeah. Be honest. 2:00 in the morning.
No, I mean, me personally,
really?
Like, I don't know. I mean, I've never, like, I haven't had issues with a particular race.
Okay.
Look, I've been.
Well, then you're a good man, sir, because most of the people would. I feel.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of people that would, but the thing is that I've been. It's the same philosophy that goes with what I was saying was like you don't want to be combative with somebody with a gun.
Right.
So you don't want to do that with a cop. But at the same time, I've been to cities like St. Louis, I've been to cities like Cleveland, and I've been on some of the badder parts of town in those cities. And I don't know if you've ever ridden a subway or public transportation.
Uh-huh.
I've been on the Chicago public transportation, San Francisco's BART.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on Washington, D.C.'s light rail system. Mm-hmm. And I've encountered individuals of minority races that clearly they look like if you mess with them, they're going to mess you up. Let me just put it that way to you.
But if you conduct yourself in a...
But, exactly. If you're cool, you don't bother them, they don't bother you, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I'm just thinking as a police officer standpoint. Because think about this, too. If, same scenario, you don't find nothing on him, but isn't there something that tells these police officers these guys have something? They just need an excuse to search their vehicle. Don't you think that guy will get his vehicle searched and the woman won't?
That's a possibility, but at that point, so for example, let me try to put myself in that guy's shoes. So for example, he's done nothing wrong. Everything comes back. Right. Everything comes back clean, other than a minor traffic violation. Right.
Right. 2:00 in the morning, mile. Yeah.
And the cop says, do you mind if I take a look in your car?
He says,
at that point, yes. As long as you're calm, I think, and you say, well, no, I mean, I don't consent to a search. Is there a reason that you're wanting to search? Do you have, you can ask, do you have probable cause? Like, is there a reason that you're wanting to search? And at that point, they need to have a pretty valid answer. Let's say they say, well, I smell marijuana from your car. Or,
well, they're not going to say that. But what if... but they're going to say something like, oh, well, we've heard there's been some arrests in the neighborhood, so we got to,
Well, they better have a damn good reason, because if it's an illegal search, like me, if that happened, and they say that they have probable cause, and I'm not consenting to it,
right,
but they have probable cause, and they ask me to step out of the car so they can search my car, I'm going to do it. I'm going to let them do it at that point. I'm not going to consent to it.
Because you don't have anything anyways.
I don't, yeah. And if it's an illegal search, at that point, after it's all said and done, and when I get home alive and safe and not dead or in jail...
You're going to call a lawyer?
Exactly.
Okay.
And you have and then at that point, you can sue the city or whatever local, whatever, wherever they belong.
Okay.
And you can sue them for an illegal search. I
okay.
mean, there's legal action you can take. People can fight the system, but they have to do so in a nonviolent way.
Right. Not combative.
Not combative, and they have to do it the right way. There's a difference between disobedience and civil disobedience.
Absolutely, yeah.
The sit-ins that Martin Luther King had done, I don't know if you recall that in history.
Yeah.
That was, at the time it was against the law for blacks to sit at a lunch
right. table,
but they did it anyway. That's civil disobedience. They weren't violent. They did get arrested, but at the end of the day, they fought their cause the right way. There's a right way to go about this, and there's a wrong way to go about it. And I think a lot of people are going about it the wrong way. Take that lady Sandra, for example, who, when she got out of the car, I don't know if you heard, but she was like, ooh, I can't wait till we go to court, and I can't wait, and blah. And just, she's just like, I think she was looking for 15 minutes on CNN. That's just kind of how it came across.
Mm.
And I think that's what's happening a lot. Everybody nowadays wants to pull out their cell phone, and they want to record like just anything. It's like this society has just turned into this crazy. Like, if you ever go through your Facebook, I've seen people share videos of people being decapitated, animals being abused.
Oh yeah,
kids fighting each other, gangs jumping on one person. Like, people are sharing these horrible acts, and there are people that are recording these acts. Like, what is wrong
right.
with society here? Like, what is going on through people's minds?
Yeah, that is the sad truth right there. I think about a year and a half ago, I read a story about how there's these Japanese people, because obviously they're like, 5 years ahead of us, and everybody had their flip phone open, their phone recording, and I think like this woman was suffocating or dying, and nobody was helping her.
They just recorded.
And man, that's just what we're becoming. We're just becoming spectators.
There's a term for it. I researched. It was in psychology. I want to say not the bystander effect, but in other words, everybody's watching the situation. It's like, for example, something is taking place,
right?
And but everybody. I think everybody. Part of it, like everybody, is now fixated on recording. But aside from that, I think what people are thinking, and research shows is that they're thinking, okay, well, I don't want to jump in. Somebody else will do it. Somebody else will save the day. Somebody else is jump in. But what happens is if one person initiates, if one person jumps in to help, whatever the situation is, it is more likely that other people will do the same because they feel more comfortable.
Right. It's the whole chimpanzee test, right? Where they gave them they were an island, and they give one monkey. They show them how to wash these coconuts so they can eat them, and a couple of them started doing it, and they had like a little pack that learned how to do it, but not everybody was doing it until the 100th monkey was actually washing its coconut, and then everybody started to do it. It's like the magic number. So that's a bit odd that our society does do that, and I kind of feel it does that with anything, fashion, sporting events, etc.
Let me give you an example. About roughly a month ago, I was at I happen to be off one day on the weekend. Usually I'm on the road, and I
Sure.
just so happen to be off. And I went out with one of my best friends to a country club, Midnight Rodeo,
Okay.
and we're having beers, and all of a sudden I hear this commotion, and I turn to my right, and this gentleman is getting clobbered. Like, this guy is just wailing on this guy's face, and I get up, and usually there's bouncers to handle these types of situations. I waited about 3 seconds, looked around, no bouncers were coming. Nobody's helping. Everybody's just watching this take place, and just some people are saying stop, but nobody's really jumping in. So after about 3 seconds of realizing, okay, there's no bouncers around, I jumped in and I separated the fight, and then other people proceeded to help. There was another person that
But you were the one that
proceeded
had
to
to start it.
I lifted the guy up off the other guy by his, which I don't know how I did that, but anyway, I pulled him up literally off and held him back, and then another guy stepped in to kind of help out a little bit, and then the bouncer finally came. But it took me to get at least another person to get in there and help me. Otherwise, the guy would have just got his butt whooped, potentially killed, until a bouncer had finally come and realized that there was a fight going on.
That's nuts.
And so I try not to,
You try not to be that spectator.
Yeah, unless it's like, my life would completely be threatened,
Right.
I'm gonna jump in and try to do what's right. It's the same thing, the bystander effect. Like, if there's a crime taking place, there are people watching. I don't know if you've ever read that story that was done years, like, I'm talking like 1940s or whatever, where the bystander effect took place. Like, this lady was getting raped or beat up in the alley, and there were people that had seen it and that were watching through their windows but didn't call the cops because they were like, well, somebody else will call the cops.
Wow.
And I think people have that for example, there was I came home the other day from work, and there's this couple arguing in the middle of the street in my neighborhood. And I told my mom, I was like, hey, do you know that these people are out there? And she's like, yeah, they've been at it for a long time. I was like, well, why haven't you called the cops? And she was like, well, I'm afraid of retaliation. I don't want issues. But, I'm like, you're one of many people right now that have seen this go on throughout, So I called the cops.
Uh-huh.
And they had dispersed at that point. Like, the guy had left, and the woman, I guess, went into the house. But they had been causing a big scene, and I called the cops. I want to make a complaint here against the San Antonio Police 911 line. I was put on hold. Like, there's this new automated system that if you need the police, please stay on the line. If you need EMS or fire, press 2. So I stayed on the line, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I was like, okay. And he had finally left, so I was like, let me just hang up. There's no point now.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point being is that, like, people shouldn't feel like that somebody else is going to do it.
Sure.
I think people should first assume that nobody else is going to do it.
Right.
And that they take the initiative.
Right. Well, I mean, I do see the difference here in Texas. I do see that more people are standing up for some reason. That's the thing that gives me hope is that I've been in states. I was in our nation's capital not long ago, July 4th weekend, actually. And the way that people conduct themselves there in our nation's capital is horrible compared to here in Texas. Here in Texas, I mean, we're in San Antonio, and we do get we do get decent people. It feels like a big hometown, basically a big small town, and I do feel that because I had similar experience that you had. I was in an apartment complex, and we had a domestic dispute. I called, and there was just lights that just flew, that turned on across the apartment complex, and apparently the operator told me, yes, we've already had like 3 or 4 calls, and that was cool. That was cool for me. I was like, whoa, that I felt safe, and that's happened to me like 1 or 2 times to where there'll be some sort of event, and I feel like I need to jump in, I need to do something. And I do feel that here in Texas, which has been all around the state, especially East Texas, that's where I grew up, I feel that there's more people, especially in small towns, that jump to occasions. Like they jump and they do something about it versus being in the big city. I kind of feel like, I don't know what about the big city, like in Houston, that makes people just get paralyzed, and they see something happen, and they just become spectators. They don't dive in. Houston is a city like that. I feel like L.A. is a city like that. New York is a city like that. Washington, D.C. is definitely a city like that. I saw a lot of things going on over there. I mean, not criminal, but I know there's things that if it happened in Texas, somebody would at least raise their voice and say, hey, you know, you can do that at your home, but you're not going to do that here, kind of thing, you know? So Texas has grown a lot on me. I do feel that people do stand up, just like you stand up. I kind of feel, I mean, maybe that's the way you've been brought up, and maybe that's just your character. But
a lot of it has to do with education.
There you go.
You know, I feel like education helped me. I think it molded me a lot. You know, like all that stuff that I told you about, that was all through education. And that's also another part of the problem, is a lack of education. But
oh man, that's a whole podcast right there.
Exactly.
That's a whole podcast. So if you guys are listening to the Rob going to the gym show,
sitting in the parking lot watching this guy undress right now, by the way.
Whoa.
In the parking lot. He's taking off his shirt and all this stuff.
Oh my Lord. I don't want to go to the gym with you, no.
You'd be surprised the characters that I see, you would be surprised.
Yeah. Bunch of creepers, right?
Oh yeah.
But anyways, if you guys are listening in to this, we definitely have way more stuff. We'll try to break down a lot of things that we talked about today and try to get more informed and give you more information about how you can get more informed as well. And we'll talk about more topics. Any closing thoughts there, Rob?
Not well. You know what? Other than the fact that I've watched people come and go here in this parking lot, and you know, I would hope that everybody would make more of an effort to, you know, be more informed, educate themselves, and just try to make society better for not only themselves but their children or future generations to come.
There you go. That's for the Rob Juniors of the world.
Exactly.
Everywhere. All right, guys. So tune in. We'll have more stuff with Rob, and maybe somebody else will come on. And if you guys have any comments, you guys want to have any topics you guys want us to talk about, let us know. Comment below. Have a good night, good day, good afternoon. Laters.